Tonight, millions of Americans will wake up at 3 in the morning. You'll stare at the ceiling, feeling a familiar wave of anxiety. You'll look at the glowing numbers on your nightstand, do the math of how many hours you have left before work, and diagnose yourself with a modern plague: insomnia. But what if you aren't broken? What if that 3 a.m. wake-up call is actually your ancient biology trying to do exactly what it was designed to do? For over 300,000 years, human beings slept in a way that would be completely unrecognizable to us today. We didn't have strict bedtimes. We didn't have 8-hour blocks of forced unconsciousness. We had a natural rhythm. Then, we invented a machine that changed everything. It wasn't the smartphone. It wasn't the light bulb. It was something far more tyrannical: a mechanical clock. And the moment it started ticking, our natural sleep was ruined forever. To understand what we lost, we have to go back to a world before time was measured in minutes and seconds. Imagine life in the year 1500. There are no screens, no streetlights, and certainly no alarms. Your entire life is dictated by a single, massive, fiery orb in the sky. When the sun goes down, the world goes dark, and your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythm, releases a flood of melatonin. You go to bed early, typically a couple of hours after dusk. But here is the fascinating part: you wouldn't sleep all the way through to morning. Until the industrial age, humans practiced what historians and scientists call biphasic sleep, meaning sleep divided into two parts. You would have your first sleep lasting about 4 hours, followed by a wakeful period of 1 to 2 hours, and then a second sleep until dawn. This wasn't an anomaly. It was the global standard for human rest. During this gap between the first and second sleep, people didn't panic. They didn't lie there, stressing about their productivity the next day. The French called this period the dorveil, or the wake sleep. It was a completely normal part of the night. Historical records, diaries, and old medical texts show exactly what people did during this time. They would add fresh wood to the fire. They would have quiet conversations with their families. Some would pray, read, or write down their dreams while they were still vivid. Doctors of the era actually recommended this hour as the absolute best time for conception. It was a built-in period of daily meditation, a quiet, dark space, completely free from the demands of the outside world. It was a time to process the day, free from stress. Your ancestors didn't fight the night. They embraced it, but the gears of change were already turning. The death of natural sleep began in the most unlikely of places: the medieval monastery. Monks needed a way to ensure they woke up for their strict schedule of prayers, which happened at specific times throughout the day and night. So, the mechanical clock was born. Early clocks didn't even have faces or hands. They just struck a bell at regular intervals. Soon, these massive machines moved from monasteries into the center of European towns. For the first time in human history, time wasn't a flowing river guided by the sun. It was a rigid box, chopped up into identical, inescapable pieces. You didn't just eat when you were hungry, or sleep when you were tired anymore. You ate at noon. You slept when the bell told you to. Time became something external. But the true catastrophe for our sleep was still a few hundred years away, waiting for a revolution. Enter the Industrial Revolution. Suddenly, the world shifted from farms to factories, and factories ran on a completely different logic. A farmer works until the job is done, or until the sun goes down. But a factory owner needs hundreds of people to start and stop the machines at the exact same moment. Time literally became money. The phrase "punching the clock" became the reality of human existence. The clock moved from the town square to the mantelpiece in the living room, and eventually strapped right onto our wrists like a pair of handcuffs. To maximize production, factory owners created the concept of the shift. And the shift demanded something biologically unnatural: a single, uninterrupted 8-hour block of sleep. There was no longer time for a peaceful, meditative hour in the middle of the night. The biphasic sleep schedule that had sustained humanity for thousands of years was utterly crushed by industry. We forced a biological process that naturally took up to 12 hours of the night and compressed it into a tight 8-hour box. If you think about it, sleep became just another industrial process. We were told to lay down, power off, and reboot exactly 8 hours later, ready for the assembly line. To make matters worse, the invention of artificial light meant we could extend the working day deep into the night. We pushed our bedtimes later and later, ignoring the sunset entirely, but the morning clock demanded we still wake up at the exact same time. The result? A massive, society-wide sleep debt. But the most insidious psychological trick the clock played on us was changing how we viewed our own bodies. Because we compressed our sleep schedule, that natural middle-of-the-night awakening didn't just disappear. Our biology still remembered it, only now it became a source of terror. Think back to that 3 a.m. wake-up call we talked about at the beginning. When a medieval farmer woke up at 3 a.m., it was a peaceful interlude. When you wake up at 3 a.m., you immediately check the clock on your nightstand. You see the glowing numbers, and your brain enters panic mode. If I fall asleep right now, I can still get 3 hours. This stress floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline, the exact opposite chemicals you need to fall back asleep. By attempting to force our sleep into one continuous, unnatural block dictated by a clock, we inadvertently invented modern sleep maintenance insomnia. We took a completely normal biological function, waking up in the middle of the night, and pathologized it. We labeled it a disease. We started taking pills to suppress it, all because we are trying to force ancient biology to obey a modern machine. And then comes the morning. How do most of us wake up today? Not to the gentle warming of the sun on our skin, or the gradual lightening of the room. We are jolted into consciousness by a blaring artificial siren. The alarm clock is quite literally a daily micro-trauma to the human nervous system. When an alarm goes off, it rips you out of whatever sleep cycle you are in, often deep REM sleep. Your heart rate spikes, your blood pressure shoots up, and your fight-or-flight response is instantly triggered. You are starting your day in a state of physiological emergency. We have replaced the natural, gentle arc of a morning with a daily jump scare, just so we can be at a desk by 9 a.m. sharp. And to cope with the exhaustion of this unnatural cycle, we turn to the ultimate fuel of the industrial age: caffeine. We are trapped in a feedback loop. The alarm clock jolts us awake before our body is ready. We consume massive amounts of coffee to trick our brains into thinking we aren't exhausted. We spend our days under artificial fluorescent lights that confuse our circadian rhythms, completely detached from the natural position of the sun. Then we go home, stare at blue light-emitting screens that suppress melatonin, and try to force ourselves to power down on command just because the clock on the wall says it's 11 p.m. When we inevitably wake up at 3 a.m., we stress about the clock, lose more sleep, and rely on even more caffeine the next day. The clock promised to organize our lives and make us more efficient, but instead, it hijacked our biology. It turned rest into a rigid schedule and transformed the peaceful night into a battleground of anxiety and exhaustion. We cannot easily undo the Industrial Revolution. Most of us can't throw our alarm clocks out the window and tell our bosses we are adopting a medieval biphasic sleep schedule. But awareness is the first step to taking your nights back. The next time you wake up at 3 a.m., don't look at the clock. Don't calculate the hours. Remind yourself that there is nothing wrong with you. You aren't broken. You are just experiencing an echo of your ancestors. Get up, read a book in dim light, and embrace the quiet of the dorvey. Stop treating sleep like a rigid shift you have to punch in and out of, and start treating it like the natural, flowing rhythm it was always meant to be. Time is a human invention, but your biology is ancient. It's time we start listening to our bodies again, instead of the ticking of the clock.